So we. Okay.
That was my question. Are we supposed to be recording these meetings?
Yeah, sorry about that. I will.
So
All right.
does that mean we should start over?
We have time. I think it's okay. We have the minutes.
Yeah.
And,
I'm kidding.
no, yeah, make a good point, but we're okay. So the meeting is adjourned. Hey, Lino,
Hi, Eric, how are you?
I'm doing okay. And
Little-
let me just get
Good.
the agenda up here.
Okay.
All right, why don't you roll for the IDA, Steve?
Okay. Peg Zugaby,
Here,
Howard Hellman,
Here,
Eric Dranoff.
Still here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the one action item we have is the authorizing resolution for the Braemar Senior Assisted Living Facility in Montebello. We
What happened to
do-
Spring Valley Preservation?
No, that was an error on my part. We didn't need that. In fact, I sent a revised, I revised the agenda. We didn't need additional, the resolution was sufficient what we had done. So we didn't need an authorizing resolution on that. So that one, in fact, that's closing today if I, barring some unforeseen issue. So that was an error on my part.
Okay. All right.
So Brainer, just to let you know, we did have a public hearing. There was no public participation. So, we're good to, authorize if you guys are prepared to do that.
Okay. Just 1 second. All right, anyone want to move that resolution?
so moved.
second,
All right, call the roll, Stephen.
Okay, Peg Zugaby,
yes,
Howard Hellman,
Yes.
Eric Dranoff.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that motion's passed.
No new business?
No new business. Oh, here's Tim. Wait a second. Let's see what this problem is here with time. I apologize, folks. Tim? Tim? I don't know what's going on with everybody today. This is like, is this like,
it's asking you, like it asked me to start up a whole new Zoom.
are
Yeah,
you
it's up-
going to join the meeting?
I had the same thing, Peggy.
It's
Same- same with
8:30.
me.
It's,
I thought the meeting started at 9 o'clock.
no, 8:30.
I missed it completely.
Now you have to, don't go on to the link, go right to the meeting ID and passcode.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll
Okay.
correct that.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else had this problem, but I clicked on my Zoom, which I have for the past couple of years, and now all of a sudden, completely locked me out of it. It says you have to reinsert your password and,
Yeah.
Same thing with you, Peggy?
Yep,
Yeah, it just dumped me out completely. So, and I haven't
And
used
Tim
my
thought the
password.
meeting was at 9. So,
Okay, you're recording right now?
yes.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, let's wait a minute or so for. Tim.
Yeah, because I want Tim to be part of this discussion.
Yeah, sure,
regarding-
absolutely, absolutely.
And Brian, Lino, could you text Brian and see if he's joining us? Does he know the meeting's at 8:30?
He can't get on. He's got the same problem. He got booted out of Zoom, doesn't know his password or anything else. And when he clicked the link that was sent to us, he just got booted and he's trying to log in and he can't. So I told him to maybe reset his Zoom and see what happens.
Or just get on, just go to zoom.com and putting a meeting ID and passcode. It's not,
Lino, Steve had sent the meeting ID and the passcode, which weren't the right numbers, and then Lisa resent it, and those are the right numbers.
the latest one works, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe Brian didn't see the one from Lisa.
So let me text him.
Okay.
If you use Fridays, that's when it boots you out. That's what I did to begin with.
Daniel, do you have any trouble getting on?
Not really.
Okay.
All right. Well, this hardly ended up being as routine a meeting as I thought it would be. This newfangled technology.
Go back to the cups and string.
Yeah.
And then it asked if I was a member of an educational facility, so I said yes, put in all the information, and it sent everything to the superintendent, so I couldn't get it at all. So I was really, so then when I saw the latest email, I clicked on that, and I went in that way.
Yeah.
I put in the meeting and passcode of the latest text email, and that got me in.
Was Tim putting in?
Probably gonna have the same problem that we all had.
I just talked to Tim. He thought the meeting was at 9, so he wasn't even prepared. Maybe he's changing his from out of his jammies.
He could be waiting for his order at some drive-through also.
Would you like to jump to the financial report while we're, because there's 2 items that I think the board should all be party to.
All right, we'll give Tim another minute
Okay.
or 2. Tell you what we should do. Why don't we adjourn and then come back in, all right? Just no need to be recording us sitting here.
Well, yeah, I would.
Sorry about that.
All right, we're recording again.
All right.
So, Tim, just to catch up, we already authorized the Braemar project, and now we're ready to discuss the labor prevailing wage matter. Do you want to lead that
Yeah, just
discussion?
real quick. Again, I'm sorry I was late. I didn't realize it was 8:30. First thing is, we've had long discussions with both the attorneys and Low Key Grill, and prevailing wage does not work. Generally speaking, what everybody has said is that the way it's set up now with the state law and with the practical side of it is that if we put a dollar amount of, say, $15 million, anything above that has to be prevailing wage. It doesn't stop anybody with a $20 million project to come and ask for benefits up to the 15 million and then complete the project, only use and circumvent prevailing wage. What everybody in the state, not everybody, but a majority of the counties in the state, from Genesee, Monroe, Ulster, I think Putnam, Orange, et cetera, is using as a residency law, where a percentage, be it 80%, 90%, that'll be dictated probably at our January meeting if people want to move forward with this. And we would define what residency is. Let's assume it's the Hudson Valley. Generally speaking, and that's what everybody at the state is doing. As far as the state law, the committee hasn't even been formed. God knows where that's going. And that's from the attorneys to Jim Loki. There's been no movement since they passed the law, even to put together the committee that is going to put together what we'll call the bylaws. So I would suggest that in the January meeting, we move forward and finalize if we're going to, some kind of labor policy. And like I said, the way everybody else in the state is dealt with this is what we're going to call a residency law. That's basically where we are.
And conceptually, what's that law going to provide, or that policy?
Well, and again, it's not up to me, it's up to us. But what they've done throughout the state, and we've seen 3-6 examples, is that let's just, for this discussion, the Hudson Valley is our area that we're interested in. That 80% of the people that work on the project have to be from the Hudson Valley, period. There's exceptions. If a specialty trade comes in, somebody who, can't be supplied by people in the Hudson Valley, and Low Key Grill will do all of that footwork, all of the investigation as to what needs to be done. That way it keeps the workers local, simple as that. They also, which caught my ear, every contractor on the job will have to supply to them their workman's comp, their general liability insurance, things of that nature, which we don't do right now and we never did, but it's just one more layer to, to make sure that the benefits we're giving are going in the right direction.
Okay, I know quite a while ago, we talked about the issue of requiring a specific labor pool. And
Right.
there are definitely some constitutional issues with that before we would proceed with going down that path, irrespective of whether you're for or against, I would want a formal opinion that constitutionally, whatever is proposed would be permitted, because I know this has been problematic in other states.
Okay.
And, we don't hire the contractors ourselves per se, but I could see where other IDAs who actually get involved in projects and have public bidding on those projects, limiting the labor pool can be problematic. I'm not saying any conclusion on that, but that's a significant issue.
Okay, I'm sure we can get something on that. And again,
Yeah,
I know the county had said, and
Hmm?
the town of Montgomery has had a law similar to this for years. So I'm sure we can get, just to satisfy something, a legal response from somebody.
No, I would want to have our counsel.
Yeah, we can do it, Eric. We can
Can you
do
share-
it.
Ron has
You know,
been
if you could
involved with
provide-
this.
Yeah, we
And
can
just
do
to
that.
we're not talking about employees of the applicant. We're talking about labor in regard to the construction portion of the
Yeah.
project.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just wanted to
and
make sure.
I know Ron has been involved in this peripherally in the past. And if we're going to do residency, Hudson Valley, whatever it might be, I would want to make sure that we do it within the parameters that we have the authority to do it.
Okay.
Agree with that approach?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, residency also means, just so everyone's aware, when we talk residency, Eric, and you probably know this, it's not union versus non-union. It's just.
I'm fully aware of that.
Yeah, so-
That's not the issue, but the issue.
Right, but that's not.
If you're limiting it, for instance, to the Hudson Valley and someone from Buffalo wants to participate in a job, or someone from New Jersey or wherever, I'm not saying it's unconstitutional or constitutional. I know in the abstract, it presents the issue. And when we laser in on the details, whatever details are acceptable to the board, we have to make sure that those details work within the parameters of the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, we can give you something on that, an opinion, so that you're comfortable on it.
I would
You
say
know, I know
also-
Ron started on that though, and I'm not cutting you off on it, Lino. but
Sure,
just,
no, that's right.
so I don't want to necessarily duplicate the effort. So
Yeah,
maybe
I just know.
maybe Ron has something. Maybe Ron
Yeah.
already has something, Steve.
I don't believe he will, but I will, I know, I remember the request, but I will ask him. I'll be talking to him today.
Okay.
I would say also, just from a timing standpoint, what we could do is, in this interim, before a January meeting, we'll work on getting that legal opinion, that clarification you want. We'll, at the same time, we'll fine tune. We have examples, just to kind of piggyback on what Tim was saying. We have various examples of various labor policies that have been implemented by not just Orange County and Montgomery, but upstate and others who have done this for years, with the benefit of saying we can see what works and doesn't work, or what's complicated or not. So we'll have, we'll put together something that would say, for lack of a better term, is a suggested policy that then the board can hash over, something in writing that you can kind of put some meat to. And then, of course, in conjunction with a legal opinion, We also have in mid-January the annual New York State Economic Development Council meeting in Albany we go to every year, which is very substantive. And we're going to go to that as we always do. And we know already that this whole labor and prevailing wage matter is going to dominate the discussion.
And one other thing as a plan B, because Tim, it's interesting, the workaround that you mentioned under the current statute.
Right.
Did anyone discuss, however, if a locality can make things more strict in terms of disqualifying a project for any benefits once it hits a given threshold? Let's say it's $100 billion threshold, all right? Or a $10 threshold, whatever it is, that if you exceed the threshold, you're ineligible for the benefits up to that threshold as well. Why can't that be done under our own local policy?
I just on a practical side, I think that'd be just about impossible to put into effect. There's, any project, no, there isn't, as far as I know, Eric. And the reason being is there is literally nothing coming out of the state except for the original document.
Right.
Part of that is the scenario we went through with prevailing wage is that, again, I'll use the example of 15 million. Okay, so what we do, just for argument's sake, say you can't go above that threshold on the project. There's no construction job that whatever the dollar amount presented in the beginning is what it is at the end. So that leaves the construction people or the owner no flexibility. There could be a window in which they could use it, but it's so easy to manipulate those numbers. And then we have to play detective, or we have to hire somebody to play detective. And it's tough to do. It really,
that's why I'm saying is maybe I'm not making my thought clear, is if there's a $15 million threshold on a project, right? And someone is going, we know at the beginning that they're going to exceed that threshold. If that's the case, then they have to pay prevailing wage under our local policy. And they can't get a proportionate benefit where up to $15 million of work, they don't have to use prevailing wage. You see what I'm getting at? I'm trying to close that loophole if that's what everyone decided they wanted to do. I'm not saying I'm trying to, I'm just throwing an idea.
Right. Yeah. Tim, maybe, and, hearing Eric, and, this is maybe something that we can expand on a little bit. We met with these folks from Low Key Brill with our councils last week, and we talked about the very topic of the matter, what was going on with prevailing wage, the fact that the state seems to be all over the map. We tried to look at our policy of that. We said, okay, can we have a threshold and then this and that? And the conversation was dominated by the fact that the practical implementation, given the fact that the state is all over the map on its law, we said, our thinking was more that there may be a prevailing wage solution there. But given that the state and the state law that will ultimately dictate things is so up in the air, that let's just kind of put that thought, the prevailing wage matter, on hold till the state defines what the law is. Then we can determine what we want to do, maybe make it more strict, whatever. But in the interim, because there is absolutely no parameters on any labor element that I know has been the concern of some of the board members, we said we can implement a labor policy that, at least taking the matter of prevailing wage off, not the discussion, but local labor, at least if someone is getting incentives in Rockland County, we could put parameters around it. So at least we know the workforce of labor is coming from the Hudson Valley or the region we define.
I'll tell you what I suggest then. Probably would be the comptroller, it could be the attorney general. They issue opinions, right? And given the lack of certainty as far as what the scope of the state law is, we could request Comptroller General opinion on both of these issues. Because even if we have our own counsel give us an opinion, that's not necessarily binding or even perhaps influential on how the comptroller or the AG would handle it. So certainly if we contact, and I'm not sure if it'd be the AG or the comptroller for us, but as a public benefit corporation, we certainly are within the scope of the authority to request these kinds of opinions. And if we request it directly from the state, then you get some clarification of what we can do, what the state will accept or not, and then we're good. Then we can construct it.
I would do both, Eric, but generally this would fall to the controller, because I know.
Yeah, that's what I would suspect.
Yeah, it's a controller, because I know when I represented Yonkers, we used to go to the controller, so we can do that and get, but we can request both. I've done letters where I've requested, opinions from both the AG, the Attorney General, and also the controller. So, and let those agencies figure out what they want to opine on. So, but I think it's good to send it to both.
Yeah, so how does everyone feel about that approach? Because that really will get us a little more clarification and certitude in how we proceed. What do you feel?
What's the turnaround time on their decisions? Is it gonna take them?
2 to 3
I
years.
mean, I know in state ed, you could send something up there. It could be years before you get anything back.
Well, I mean, the state passed this law in like April or May of 2020. And they haven't even formed the committee that was supposed to be established to review the law and come up the fine-tuned, elements of it. So.
Well, here's
Peg, the timing is a good point. And I think what we among ourselves is make the effort, because I think that's the good faith thing to do. And if you are all comfortable with picking an arbitrary number, if we don't hear anything back in 6 months, we've made our effort. We could have a council opinion running parallel with it. So we've done everything to make sure that this is not an arbitrary decision on our part or something that won't work under the state or federal constitutions.
Do we need to involve the county attorney or no?
To request the opinion? No, I think we could do that.
Yeah, just so you know, my experience before COVID, when it came to AG opinions or controller, was anywhere from like 3 months to a year.
Right.
Sometimes though, what they would do, like when I in my role as municipal council, sometimes I could call up and they would say, well, here's the question. I emailed. Now they can take emails as well. They'll get back to me and says, well, this issue has already been addressed. Look at opinions, and they'll send me the link to the opinions as opposed to having them redraft. Because this issue, I'm pretty sure, has been looked at. So they may either send you a new opinion, or they may say, listen, we've addressed this issue in opinion 77-02, and they'll send you that. The issue here is going to be, the state hasn't acted yet. So the question is going to be, there's been some discussions that we're still going to have home rule apply, that you can always go more restrictive than what the state law says. But we don't know if this is going to preemption issue. We don't know if this is going to stay, it's going to preempt all IDAs on this. There's been little to no discussion on that. So, and that's going to evolve. I would think next year. I'd be curious to see what their take on that come January. That discussion, whether this law will preempt or whether we can go more restrictive. It seems to be, at least from what I've heard, that's going to be the baseline. But we can always go more restrictive. What the state, assuming they get around to doing this, but going back to this labor, with residency requirement, that's something we can easily, Eric, I agree, we can ask for. We'll send a dual request to both the controller, AG, and hopefully we'll get a quick turnaround time. But again, pre-COVID was 3 months to a year.
Yeah. Okay.
All
right. So we go to the, what, Howard?
I have a couple of comments I'd like to just throw out there, not necessarily for any feedback, but just to put on the table for a later conversation. And you've heard most of these from me before, but now that we're being recorded, I can make it somewhat official. Starting with what our core mission is, and that's to provide incentives to companies to induce them to come to the county. And we all know that one of the roadblocks in having companies come to us was the prevailing rate. And every company that never came to us for a prevailing rate, those projects were still built. So the taxpayers got their pound of flesh, if you will, in terms of the taxes they had to pay and non-reduction of property taxes, et cetera. So then when we eliminated the prevailing rate, look at our bank account today. Suddenly we have all of these developers, owners, companies coming to us because they don't have to pay prevailing rate. So they're getting the advantage of us giving them those benefits. And we all know that every one of those projects, or at least 99% of them, would have happened without us giving them any benefits. So in a sense, without having paid prevailing rate, they're winning on that side because their labor costs are lower, and they're getting a home run on sales tax and property tax and mortgage recording tax, et cetera, et cetera. So I think at some level, we're not doing justice to the community that we serve. I know we're talking about this policy of having labor come from the region. Tim knows 95% of every job out there, the labor comes from the region. What do you think? Carpenters are coming from Buffalo to frame a building? They all live in the region. So I think we're beating a dead horse here. Just putting on my developer's hat. When I do a building, if it's a HUD project, I have to use all prevailing rate. But the flip side of that is because it's HUD, I'm getting nice incentives from HUD. Well, if I want to do that same project without prevailing rate, I'm not going to do it with HUD, so I'm not going to get those HUD advantages. So I think we really need to look real carefully at what our mission is, who we serve, and we serve the public. And if we're taking money out of the public's property, out of public's pockets, I don't think we're doing what we're here to do.
And I agree, Howard, but there's one thing I'd like to follow up with. If in voting on any resolution, we come to the conclusion that there's not going to be the public benefit that we as a group feel we want, we can always vote down a project. So that's the answer as far as saying that people are getting benefits when they would have built the project anyway. That thought process is what should be going through our heads, among other things, when we vote yay or nay on a resolution. If in our own minds, someone comes to the conclusion that these benefits are necessary to convey, we could put, or anyone could put a nay on their vote.
Well, I think it's important, to be honest with you, I need to chime in on something. I don't believe, projects, I do not agree that every project we do would go forward whether we gave them incentives or not. That is simply contrary to the mission that we exist. We have this but-for clause. That's different. That whether the incentives are incenting a project to go forward or not is crucial to our mission. The question, I think, maybe, and I don't want to interpret what Howard's saying, the issue that we've wrestled with was projects that opted, regarding the prevailing wage policy, would they have gone forward or not, whether we had a policy or not? There's a difference there. As doing this for 18 years, I do not believe every project we do would happen whether we gave them incentives or not. That simply, in my mind, is not accurate. And I'm sorry to be very blunt about that. However,
No, that's fine.
We have seen occasions where, we've said to people, okay, you have to do prevailing wage. And they said, sorry, we're not going to, we can't go forward. It renders the cost of construction, it eats up the benefits. That's a different matter. Or projects have done prevailing wage, and we've done a lot of projects with prevailing wage. So the truth is that yes, prevailing wage doesn't stop projects. What we have seen over the past year and a half, and particularly in 2021, we have done an unprecedented number of projects. In all the years I've been doing IDA work, 18 years now, going on 19 years since back with REDC, and Eric, you've been right there with me the whole time. We have never done more projects than we have this year. We have induced over 25 projects, brand new projects this year. We're going to close more projects this year than we ever have. I don't know if I can attribute that to prevailing wage or not, or whether our policy or not, but there's other issues, there's other factors than prevailing wage dictating projects or not.
And then you make another point about, as a practical matter, jobs being 95% local labor anyhow. So if that's the case, why would we need a policy if in practice that goal is being achieved?
That was my point.
Yeah.
I don't think you do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. Well, again, not to speak, out of turn with the board, but I think the question that the board had said was, if we're giving, and I know, and not to put words in Peg's mouth, but Peg, you've been very
Right.
eloquent about this, that if we're getting somebody a public benefit, at the very least, we should require, even though they may do it anyway, but we should require local labor, be it union or non-union, prevailing wage or non-prevailing, at least local labor is being utilized on these jobs. That at the core is the question, I think, that was being driven by this question about a labor policy. Right now, we have no parameters as far as who people hire. If they fall outside the bounds of this under 30% of the benefits or under $5 million, they're not subject to prevailing wage, and there's nothing, they can hire anybody from anywhere in the country. So,
Okay, so another question then, because certainly job creation is a legitimate objective. But in terms of the labor workforce, the trades, is there any employment issues in those areas, or are the jobs and the work plentiful right now? Because it's nice to encourage a certain labor pool to help that labor pool. But what I'm asking, and it's rhetorical, I'm not expressing an opinion, but rhetorically, is it necessary to impose a policy to try and fix an issue that doesn't exist? If there's, for instance, to be extreme, zero unemployment rate amongst different contractors, laborers, trades.
You can't use that because
Fine, that's why I'm asking.
you're looking at a snapshot, and
Right.
construction is so up and down that today there might be full employment, which again wouldn't be the IDA's problem. Tomorrow there could be employment. It's seasonal. There's always
Right.
more unemployment in the winter than there is in the summer, et cetera, et cetera. So you can't look at that. It's just, for me, is whether the residency issue is in the sense that it states a policy. We now have low-key Gorilla come in to make sure that the people on the project not only are residents, but the contractors have the right documentation. They have, he checks to make sure who the people on the job are. Again, he checks insurance certs, things of that nature. So the fact that we don't need it, that 95% of the construction in this area is done by local residents, then I flip it over and say, so then how is that going to impact us with the policy? Put the policy in. This way, anybody who comes into the area, it's stated there, they see what our policy is, and we move forward. That's just my opinion. And as far as checking with the controller, I have no problem with that. The only other thing I'll say to that is there are state counties, Monroe, Geneseo, have these policies in place for an extended period of time. And as far as I know, they've never been challenged. So are we reinventing the wheel in a sense? And what concerns
I don't think so. I don't think so because, well, Peg, you wanted to speak. I'll
Yeah,
speak.
I just want to say that the benefits that we give are benefits supported by the people of Rockland County. And some of those people are in the trades. Probably a lot of them are in the trades. And so if they're going to be part of that group, it costs them more to live here. So I know I always wanted some kind of a prevailing wage because it's different if you live in the Hudson Valley than if you live in one of the upstate counties. It costs you more to live here. It costs you more to put gas in your car, more to buy your groceries, more for your taxes, more for everything. And it should be recognized in some way. I don't know how we do that, but I just think it should be recognized in our policy some way.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's what we're doing. We just want to make sure that we do it right.
But I mean, just merely the fact that you live here, to me, and you know, I just feel that way. Just the fact that I live here is just not gonna answer my full question. I just
Yeah,
want
it's got to be good. It's got to be
there.
good for everybody. But Tim, also, just in terms of the due diligence aspect and asking for a comptroller or AG opinion, as well as perhaps our own counsel, that something hasn't been challenged by other entities' acts doesn't bring the level of comfort in terms of whether or not it's a proper thing to do. One thing that I've always been proud of this group is we have always taken a conservative, thoughtful approach to things, and you see often reports of other IBAs not necessarily doing things are proper. I'm not saying they do things that are inappropriate. Their hearts are in the right place, but maybe it's because I've been on this IBA for 27 years now, and I'm afflicted with the illness of being an attorney, which that's and I have to deal with that.
How's
But
the,
I like to
Eric,
make
how's the
sure-
watch running?
What?
How's that watch running that we got you for the 25th year?
Yeah. Right. So 27 years I've been on this board, and I just like to have the appropriate comfort level for everybody because the ideas are all good ones. But to implement the ideas, I just want to make sure that they're done within the confines of the authority.
I agree with everything you say, Eric. The problem I have is when we mention Albany, I cringe. They've had this law in place now for almost 2 years and done nothing with it. I'm concerned a little bit what Lino said. It might be a year, if not infinity, before we get an answer, but let's try. Simple as that.
And that's why I said, we could say if we don't hear something in 3 months, 6 months, whatever the group is comfortable with,
Right.
we'll on our due diligence. We've made the good effort, and that's all that anyone could ask of us.
Okay.
If you guys are ready to move on, can I suggest that we jump to, there's a couple executive session things that I need to talk about. One's a legal matter and then one's a personnel matter. The legal one is something I do want to make sure I have all of you for. Can I suggest that we go into executive session before I lose? I know, Eric, you've got a kind of a hard deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I could make it to 9:35, 9:40.
Okay, and that's why I wanted
Got a hard stop
to jump in.
today.
I don't think this is going to be a lengthy discussion, but I do need to
All
talk
right,
to you guys.
so let's.
Motion to
I
go
would
into
like-
executive session.
I would like to have an
Second by
executive session.
Peg. All
Lino
right.
and Lisa join us for that, for a portion of executive session, and then they can leave as well. But I'd like them be with us to start of the executive session. Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay, then I guess we need someone to make the motion, and
I'll make
Howard
the
did, Peg seconded.
And the reason is for to discuss with council.
Legal and also employment.
Employment. Thank you.
okay. Daniel, we're gonna need you to leave the meeting, unfortunately.
You got to know how to create rooms.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about, I
Are
want
you
to
still
make
recording?
sure.
Are you still recording?
Oh,
Should
Yes,
not be
still
recorded.
recording.
sorry.
I have to.
Okay.
Okay, we're back into the regular session.
Yep. We just have to do our financials and.
All right, I unfortunately do have to step out. All right.
Take care, Eric.
You have enough people to vote,
Yes,
and happy holidays, everybody.
You
You too.
too.
Right.
You too,
All
Eric.
right. Enjoy a little
okay,
time
enjoy,
off.
everybody be safe, okay.
All right. Good job this year, folks.
Yep, we had a banner year, and
Good.
I say that for everybody here.
Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of. We do.
Between the new office and all the projects and everything, You know,
Yep.
it's been in Howard, and it's been terrific as far as Howard's assistance. Yeah, this has
And we
been
all, I say it all the time, I always appreciate that. As far as the boards that I've served on, this board has always been the best. The back and forth, the respect, the ability to express different views without any contention is something that I think can be example to how other people interact and handle issues. So thanks to everyone. I really mean that.
I would, just add, and I know you have to go, Eric, so I won't keep it very quickly. In the past week, I've met with my peer at Orange County, the new IDA director up there, Bill Fioravanti, who wanted to meet with me. And I also met with Colin Eckert, who is the town of Montgomery, who also wanted to meet with me. And they both wanted to meet with me on the suggestions of some of our board members like Howard had mentioned, but also Senator Skoufis, who has been a real, really going after IDAs, who holds us up as an example to them of how an IDA should be run. And they asked us, that's funny, they individually both said, how do you guys, you're never in the paper. There's never any controversy with you guys. How do you do that? Like, what's your strategy to avoid it? And I said, we just do we're very transparent, and we try to, we really take what our mission is, seriously. We have a good board. I mean, it's as simple as that. We're not avoiding being in the news. We just don't, knock on wood.
Yep.
So
All things are good, but thanks again.
Thanks for your leadership, Eric.
Nice. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks a lot, guys. All right, again, healthy and happy. See you soon.
You
All
too.
Go get some aluminum foil for that Festivus pole.
right.
okay, let me tell Lisa to come back in too. All right, can you come back? Okay. Okay, I guess what I wanted to do is our finances. Hold on. Yeah, it was interesting. Well, and I have to have a follow-up conversation with the senator, because he wants to talk more about us as far as how, our philosophies and how we do things. So interesting, and you don't want to be in a position of pitting one IDA against the other necessarily, but it's we kind of, I guess it's nice to know we stand out.
Yeah.
At least the one elected official who's is not shy about, voicing criticisms. Well, we could start, while I'm waiting for Lisa, she may, we can do, I don't want to keep unnecessarily. We can do the finances if you'd like.
Okay. I'll be honest with you, Steve. I don't know what I did with them. I don't know if it was a glitch or what. So why don't you go over them with the board?
Sure, if you don't mind. Okay.
No.
Put them up on
Pretty
the,
much, I'd like to say business as usual, but there is a tremendous number of more checks I've been writing over the past, month and a half, 2 months. But with that said, we still have close to, we've been closing projects. So we still have close to $3 million in the bank. Hi, Lisa, sorry to bring you back. We're just doing the finances now. I figured let you come back in. We've been writing a lot of checks, but, I think we've been very efficient as far as how we've been spending money. And I think I give a lot of, I give credit to Howard for his involvement that's made sure that we haven't overspent, and not to be overlooked. I give Lisa a lot of credit too. She is a consummate shopper, and I mean that in a good way, in the sense of, I'll give you a simple example. We said, okay, well, we need I want a coffee maker. I'm just using a very simple, easy example. I would have stumbled across and seen what, whatever. But Lisa shopped and got us a deal and made sure that we didn't spend a penny more for the coffee maker, and that minimized it. It sounds like I'm minimizing her involvement. It's also been on bigger purchases. She has,
look at the TV, how much money
Yeah,
she saved
the
us on the
TV.
TV. So that was great.
you know, he negotiated on our glass door. What'd you save us? $700-800 on
Yeah.
what they proposed? So again, you know, an organization is the people that make up. In my case, I have a great board and I've got a great support person here. And it results in us saving not an inconsequential consequential amount of money over the course of this project. So, you know, I just want to make sure everyone realizes that. So anyway, getting back to the finances, nothing special, just some unexpected one-time costs due to the office. Everything else is kind of routine. In fact, our fixed monthly costs will go down once all this is shaken out. We're paying less in monthly rent, even despite any of the common costs associated with it. And our monthly communication costs are going down versus what they were at the other place. So we've reduced our monthly cost of doing business. And we'll see that once we get past these one-time costs of getting the office built. So I guess with that said, you know, if anybody has any other questions about the finances?
None.
Okay. All right, then I guess somebody want to accept the financial report?
Um,
Okay, very
I will.
mellow group this morning.
We're worn out.
I know that was
I'll
a
second
lot of discussion. And all right, and with that said, I guess would you like, I'm gonna have you do it, Lisa. You want to read back the minutes?
Okay.
And a very abbreviated version of it. You don't have to go blow, you know, like, you
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
know.
All right. So the action items, we had authorizing resolution of Braemar. Steve reported that the hearing was held and there was no public comment, and the board authorized the resolution made by Hellman and second by Peggy, and all in favor. Then we went over, we had pause for recess, and then we did some discussed the labor and prevailing wage update. The board discussed prevailing wage and local labor. It was suggested to wait for the state to give specific details on the law they wanted implemented. Tim shared that we should impose a policy on local labor instead while we wait for the state. Eric suggested to reach out to AG Comptroller to get clarification on the legal parameters of implementing local labor. Howard discussed our mission and questioned who we're serving, and Eric followed that the board has the right to vote down any project as they see fit. Steve reminded the board that in 2021, we've had over 20 projects. Peg suggested to make sure it's a good fit for the people of Rockland County, and Eric reiterated just to make sure we follow the law. And then we went into executive session, and I don't have to read anything from there, right? And then Steve went over the financials and discussed that there was these one-time costs and that the monthly payments moving to the new office have gone down. And it was passed by Peg and second by Howard, and motion was passed. Did I miss anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
second.
All right. Everyone have a very happy holiday season.
Great holiday.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye
Bye.
now. Bye-bye.